actually, whatever abilities I have, I will channel to serve the devotees. Most of the groundwork and the training was because of Radhesham Pro's meticulous and tireless attention and guidance, and the wonderful devotional environment in Pune. So even my writing skills were discovered by Radhesham Pro, and whatever speaking abilities, question answers, all that I did, it was all what I learned in Pune. So I'm trying to serve in whatever way I can, and I'm very grateful to be here on this occasion of Balaram Jayanti to speak something about Lord Balaram. Thank you. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Vishram Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Kadati Swapadantikam Mudikayam Shri Guru Shri Kadakalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sarvajatam Sadharavanam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vajasajitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Radha Saranalita Shri Vishakhampitamsha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Veshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayare Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauravishye Namaha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today I'll be talking on the topic of how Balaram helps Krishna remember Vrindavan outside of Vrindavan. So I'll be speaking mainly on the 41st, 42nd, 47th and 65th chapters from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is where the past, this particular incidents which describe Balaramji's role in this particular way are described. And these chapters have been elaborated further in a continuous narrative form by Vishnu Goswami and Gopal Champu. And Sanatana Goswami has also written a commentary called Vaishnava Doshan. So I'll be speaking primarily from Sanatana Goswami's Gopal Champu and a few things from Sanatana Goswami's Vaishnava Doshan. So when Krishna leaves Vrindavan and comes to Mathura, he has full intention of just reinstating the Yadus as the rulers and returning back to Vrindavan. And in fact, right in the beginning, soon after Kamsa is killed, then at that time, Krishna says, so Krishna goes and in the royal assembly, where they are wrestling, there Krishna and Balaram defeat all the wrestlers, and then Krishna pounds Kamsa to death. And then after that, all the Yadu elders, they are waiting to meet Krishna. So at that time, Krishna meets Vasudeva. That is described in the 10th canto. The subsequent events, drawing from other sources such as Harimamsha and Vishnu Puran, are elaborated by Jiva Goswami and Gopal Champu. So he goes and meets Ugrasena. And Ugrasena is at that time almost hanging his head in shame. He says that I'm so ashamed that I had a son like this who created so much trouble for everyone and even for you. So Krishna, in a very understanding way, says actually he was a demon and he got what he deserved. And he had seized the kingdom from you, and I have come here to return the kingdom to you. And he takes the crown, which everybody had expected that Krishna will wear, and he offers it to Ugrasen. And Ugrasen says, no. He says, you have killed Kamsa, you should become the king. He says, no, you are the eldest among our family, and you should become the king. And the Yadus are touched by this. And then Ugrasen accepts. And Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev are friends and they are related also. So they goes to Vasudev and meets and talks with them. And then afterwards, at that time, Ugrasen is saying that you should, telling Krishna, you should become the king. Krishna said, my heart is attracted to the forest of Vrindavan. And I do not want the kingdom. You please be the king. So after that, when the Maharaj and the cowherds have come with him, they are camping on the outskirts of Mathura. And Krishna is living inside in the palace. And then he goes to the Yadu assembly. At that time, Vasudeva is not there. Krishna is more or less decided that he will be going back to Vrindavan. And he said, I will announce in the Yadu assembly and then I will go and tell Vasudeva privately because it will be difficult for them. So I'll tell them privately afterwards. So he goes and says that now that Kamsa has been killed, now you can reign peacefully and I will go as per my heart's calling to Vrindavan. So at that time, Vikadru, who is one of the elders in the other he says, oh Krishna, earlier we had one tyrant Kamsa, but at least he had kept all the other tyrants at bay. Now we will be doubly threatened, firstly by the allies of Kamsa who will want to wreak revenge, and also the enemies of Kamsa who will want to get back at the kingdom of Kamsa. So we are in even greater danger now. And Krishna says, but Nanda Maharaj, my father, Yashoda, my mother, they are all waiting for me. I have to go back. So at that time, Vikadru says, actually it was prophesied that the 8th son of Devaki will kill Kamsa. You have killed Kamsa. Therefore, you are the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. You are not the son of Nanda and Yashoda. This is ongoing paternity debate. Who is the actual father? And till the end, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda never accept that. As we will see, they don't accept that Krishna is the son of Yashoda, of Vasudeva and Devaki. So then Krishna becomes sad, and he says that after a long time, after being tormented, after being separated from you, now we have got you back. How can we live without you? So Krishna and Balaram look at each other. At that time, Akrura's mother, she says, if the Brajavasis, they want to see, they can always come here every time. But we will be under threat, you must stay with us. So Krishna and Balaram, they depart from there and they start talking with each other. And at that time, Krishna says to Balaram, what should I do now? He says, I cannot disobey the Guru, we are the elders. And they are also true, they will be in danger. But what will I say to Nanda Maharaj? So Balaram, he embraces Krishna. And he says that sometimes the call of the heart and the call of duty do not go the same way. You, Krishna, will yourself have to decide what to do. So Krishna thinks deeply, and then Balaram and Krishna look at each other's eyes, and both of them know what decision Krishna has to take. And then Krishna and Balaram, they return to Nanda Maharaj. And when Nanda Maharaj sees their apprehensive steps, he starts suspecting something is terribly wrong. And when Krishna tells, or based on the prophecy, they are claiming that I am their son, and that is why they are asking that I should stay there. So Vasudeva, so Nanda Maharaj starts laughing. You know, sometimes the only way to stop crying is by starting laughing. So he is on the verge of tears and he says, I know the truth. He says, Vasudeva is just using an excuse to keep Krishna there. Vasudeva had himself told me when I had come to meet to give my taxes to Kamsa and I had met him. He had told me that although you are very advanced in age and although you had very little chance of getting a son, but you have got a son. This is a matter of great. So he himself has acknowledged that you are my son. And as far as the prophecy is concerned, Gargacharya has already told me. Gargacharya said, Garga Muni, when he did the Namakaran of Krishna, he had a Dharma Sankat. On one side as a Brahmana, he cannot lie. But on the other side, the whole plan was to keep Krishna's secret from Kamsa. So, what does he say? So, as an astrologer in those times, you are expected to tell about the previous life also. And you are about to tell about the background. So, he does two things which are bordering on the line between truth and untruth. So, he says that your son is just like Narayan. He doesn't say he's Narayan. Just like Narayan. And in his past life, he was the son of Vasudeva. So, past life means it can either refer to a previous lifetime in a previous body, or for Krishna it was almost like a different life. It was in Vrindavan and in Mathura. So he says that actually even Gargacharya has confirmed that you are my son. But his tears. He says it is a matter of pride for us that great people are claiming our son to be his son. So, actually, before Krishna and Balaram go out to meet Nanda Maharaj, at that time Balaram tells Krishna that, when Ram had to go to the forest, at that time, both for him as well as for his father, there was terrible agony. But still Ram did his duty. So indirectly Balaram gives counsel over there at that time. And now Nanda Maharaj says the same thing. And he quotes another incident. And he says, just as when Vishwamitra asked for Ram, it was like death. It was like death to Dasharatha Maharaj. But still, he gave his son. But at that time, Dasharatha Maharaj had hope that Vishwamitra will bring his son back. I know that if you stay with Vasudeva, you will not come back. Krishna is about Dasharatha. No, I will surely come back. As soon as I kill all the demons, I will come back. Nanda Maharaj raises high in rejection. And then, the choked voice, he says, the second time, when Dasharatha Maharaj was separated from Ram, he could not take that separation. When Krishna hears this, Krishna contemplates the thought of Dasharatha Maharaj, of Nanda Maharaj leaving his body. He rushes forward and embraces directly. Then Balaram comes forward. Balaram says that blood does not make anyone a parent. Love is what makes one a parent. You have loved me more than my parents. You are my father, and Yashoda is my mother, as is Rohini. And Krishna and Balaram have earlier conferred. They know that it is not just telling this news to Nanda Maharaj is going to be difficult, but how the Vrajavasi is going to take the news. How is Yashoda Mai going to take the news? Yashoda Mai has not come here, she is still in Vrindavan. So, Krishna and Balaram have come up with a plan. And the Maharaj has the same concern. He says that how will Yashoda be able to live here? How will she be able to live without you? He says, Krishna says that I will write a letter for her. Krishna, the Maharaj says, no letter will help. He says, we will stay here itself. And I will get Yashoda here also. And Krishna says, and what will you do with our cows? We are Vaishyas and taking care of our cows is our duty. And now we have thousands and thousands and thousands of cows. And these cows are so great. Where will be the pasturing land for them? Will they graze in the gardens of Mathura? He says, we cannot give up our duty. If you say that I am everything, for me the cows are everything. And we must take care of the cows. And then Krishna has to put a stone in his heart and he says that there is one more thing I have to tell you. It's not only will I have to stay here, but we will have to cut off all contact. This is like a thunderbolt for Govinda Maharaj. So what? Why? So he thought deeply about this. He said that while I am in Mathura, if there are any demons who attack, I'll protect them. But if these demons come to know that you and I are so closely related with each other, that we love each other so much, then to get back at me for having killed Kamsa, they will attack Vrindavan. And they will destroy Vrindavan. And if I am in Mathura, I will not be able to protect Vrindavan. I am planning to put all the Yadus in a fort where they will be protected. But Vrindavan has so many cows. How can all these cows be put inside a fort? They need the pasturing lands. So let the world think that I was connected with you only in terms of staying when I was staying. And after I came back, then I have forgotten you and you have forgotten me. Krishna speaks these words. He knows what these words are going to do to the Brajavasis. But they are always going to worry, will Krishna forget us? And because Krishna is told that there should not be any connection between Vrindavan and Mathura, that is why, that is one of the reasons why, although Vrindavan is so close to Mathura, and although the Brajavasis are next to death in separation from Vrindavan, still the Brajavasis never come to Mathura. They stay in Vrindavan waiting for Krishna to come back. And in Krishna and Balaram, they are both brought some of their clothes with them. And they say that Krishna says, I'll write a letter for Yashoda. And in that letter, it's a long, sweet letter, he tells, Mother, every morning I would wake up and every day you would have a new delicacy for me. And, oh Mother, you cook that delicacy and every day I will accept that. This is not an imagination. I will come there and I'll accept that. Oh Mother, I will see if you eat food or not. If you don't eat, I will also not eat. And then Maharaj asks, but how will the cows live without you? So Krishna says, Balaram and Krishna have conferred about this, and Krishna says that actually the cows go largely by appearance and smell. So Stoka Krishna looks very much like me, and Sridhama looks like Balaram. So we are giving our dresses to them, and our dress will have our fragrance. So when they go and they play the flute in the middle of the cows will feel as if I and Balaram are there, and that is how they will be pacified. And with a heavy heart, Nanda Maharaj, they talk about it at night, the whole night, Nanda Maharaj is crying, thinking of life without Krishna and Vrindavan. And Krishna is crying, Krishna and Balaram, they're together, and they're lying awake, crying, embracing each other, consoling each other, again breaking into tears. The next morning, Krishna goes again to offer his respects to Nanda Maharaj. They embrace each other. They don't speak any words at that time. The grief that is there of separation, they know it will spill apart. And Krishna turns and walks away. He knows that if he stays there, he will stay there forever. He will not be able to leave. And then Balaram, as Nanda Maharaj starts to depart, Balaram follows him. And follows him for quite a distance. And then Krishna and Nanda Maharaj turns to Balaram and he says, Oh Ram, I do not know how I will live without Krishna. But I want Krishna to be happy. And if you are there with Krishna, then at least one with whom he is familiar will be there. So please go back and be with Krishna. And when Balaram, with tears in his eyes, turns and returns. Now when Krishna and Balaram are in the palaces of Mathura, for them it's still a strange environment. Sometimes there are childhood prodigies. Childhood prodigies, somebody may be a chess player who at the age of 10 becomes a national champion. And then sometimes they are going abroad to play matches. Now, with respect to a particular talent, they might be phenomenal. But they are still children. Their talent notwithstanding, they are still children. And just the children are not at the age of 10 or 12, they are not emotionally as developed as, say, seasoned professionals of 30 or 40. So the rigors of being in a foreign environment, it is very, very difficult to deal with that. And that's why they need a very, very loving parents, very good support staff. And now Krishna and Balaram, at one, of course they are God, but they are performing a Leela. And in the Leela, just around them, these children. And sometimes say there are these mega stories in movies or novels that there is some mistake at the assignment of birth. So when two children are born, maybe the nurse exchanges two children. And then this is his mother, but someone else is the mother. And say at the age of 10, if a child is taken from those who are considered, he has thought are my parents, and then is taken someone else. Now Vasudeva observes that Krishna cannot even address Devaki as his mother. Krishna tells Balaram that whenever I say mother, I always remember Yashoda. Whenever I say father, I remember Nanda. He says, what should I do here? How should I live here? So Vasudeva sees that this predicament is causing great agony to both Devaki and Krishna. Now Krishna needs a mother's love and Devaki wants to offer the mother's love. But still, they have not developed a bond till now. So Vasudeva wonders. And then he contemplates and he says, there is one person who has been in Vrindavan when Krishna was there and who should actually be in Mathura. And that is Rohini. So he sent swift messages to Nanda Maharaj saying that now that I'm back in the kingdom and there's no danger of Kamsa, please send Rohini back. And when Rohini gets the news, when Nanda Maharaj comes, and the devastation which Nanda Maharaj's news causes to Brajavasis, when they see that Krishna has not come, that is an entirely different story. It's a different pastime. We move forward, and when Nanda Maharaj comes to the ladies and he tells them, Yashoda, Devaki, and the other elders, the other wives of Nanda's brothers, they are together. And Nanda Maharaj gives the news, message that Vasudeva has brought. And Rohini. So Rohini, she turns to Yashoda. She says, what should I do now? She says, I cannot go against my husband's wishes. At the same time, I am inseparable from Yashoda. Now how can I live without her? If only every one of my limbs could be divided into two, then one body of mine could go back to Mathura and one will stay with Yashoda. And Yashoda and Rohini embrace each other. Yashoda with tears, she says, it is true that we are not different. And if I cannot be with Krishna, if you are with Krishna, if you are with Ram, then when they embrace you, I will feel their embrace. And I will feel their love. They need you. Please go. And Yashoda Mai, she cooks a huge variety of feast for Krishna. And the little carts filled with gifts. Rohini goes and the ladies follow for a long distance. And finally, when Rohini reaches Mathura, Ram and Krishna run to her and they rush and brush themselves, put themselves on her legs. they're still children. And Rohini embraces them. And at that time, Rohini quickly senses the mood of Mathura. Sees that in Mathura, all the Mathura Vasis are constantly suspicious of the Brajavasis. They know that Krishna has a very strong love for the Brajavasis, and they're constantly apprehensive that somehow Krishna may go to Vrindavan. And sometimes, it's unfortunate, but it happens in life. Sometimes if a couple separates and then they have children, then there are custody suits. And in the custody suits, when both the husband and the wife, the mother and the father, both want possession of the child. So they both seek the possession of the child, not just by trying to show how well I can take care of the child, but often it leads to the other side, they slur the character of the other person. That's why that person, the mother says the father cannot take care. The father says no, the mother cannot take care. And it becomes very ugly. Because nothing that ugly happens here. But still there is that tension between the two families. And Rohini wants to resolve it. And so all the ladies are sitting together, they are welcoming Rohini. At that time Rohini says, so now Rohini, her close relationship with this Ram. Ram is her son. And Balram, usually in Gopal Chapu, he uses the word Ram quite frequently for Balram. So Balram pours out his heart. He tells how Krishna is afflicted by being separated from the Brajavasis and by not being able to relate with the Yadus so well. So this is not to say that in any way the Yadus they are also great devotees. We should not have a negative attitude towards them. But sometimes in a particular pastime, to enhance the rasa, even different devotees can act in different ways. So what Rohini, as soon as she comes into Mathura, she suspects, she feels it. Balram confirms by his words and tells that this is a tense situation. So Rohini says that, she thinks that I will try to resolve the situation. So then Devaki and the other elder ladies in the Yadu family are assembled together in the inner chamber. So she says, oh Devaki, there is no doubt that Krishna is your son. But what loss is there if a son has two mothers? How do you lose anything if Krishna considers Yashoda also his mother? He is still with you and he will be with you. So Devaki does not speak English. And one of the other ladies in the other city says, oh Rohini, the Brajavasis, by feeding them with their milk sweets, they have spoiled your intelligence. So that is why you are speaking in their favor. And when you already hear this, you understand that it's a lost cause. So she goes and tells Balram and Krishna that please wait, gradually things will resolve. And then Vasudeva and Devaki, they decide to perform the thread ceremony of Krishna. Now, Krishna, he agrees to do the thread ceremony, but he knows if this news reaches Nanda Maharaj, what is going to happen? Because Nanda Maharaj is fully convinced that Krishna is my son. And if Krishna accepts the thread ceremony in the presence of Vasudeva and Devaki, the thread ceremony is to be done in the presence of the parents, then Krishna is accepting Vasudeva and Devaki as his parents. And then, what will happen? What will happen to us? So, so immediately he sends a message. So there is constant communication between the Brajavasis and the Mathuravasis, but none of the major players, none of the important characters, they go from here to there. So if spies go, messengers go, that is not as noticeable as any of the central characters go. So he sends a messenger and he says that for the sake of external ritual, I am going to do this thread ceremony. But I am your son. And with Stoka Krishna and Sudama, you perform the thread ceremony for me. And I will be present there. And I will accept you as my parents. And from you, in your presence, the thread ceremony will be performed there also. So this way he consoles them. And gradually, with Rohini's presence, the bond between Devaki and Krishna starts getting formed. And then, as Krishna is there, now Krishna says that I have to, if I have done the thread ceremony, then the thread ceremony basically indicates there are different ways. Basically, there are two main kinds of initiation. There is the Vedic initiation and there is the Tantric initiation. In the Vedic initiation, there is the Gayatri mantra that is given. And the Gayatri mantra, what is conventionally considered the Gayatri mantra, is that which begins with Om. And that is given to Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. And others are also initiated to the fold, but that is done through the Tantric initiation. So when we get Brahman Diksha, at that time we are given 7 mantras. So what our acharyas have done is combined both the initiations. So the Om mantra actually is the Gayatri mantra, and the other mantra that we sing, they are actually Tantric mantras. Tantra, sometimes the word invokes some negative connotations. But there are actually two kinds of tantra. There is right hand tantra and left hand tantra. So left hand tantra is negative, right hand tantra is positive. Right hand tantra is actually deity worship. So traditionally, the tantric mantras were given to everyone, and everyone would do deity worship once they got the tantric mantras. So what Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur did is that he combined both of them, and Srila Prabhupada stressed Harinam Diksha. So anyway, the important point is that in those times there were different levels of initiation, and Gayatri Diksha means the beginning of education. So Krishna, he decided that now I have to set an example and I have to go for education. So he decides what to do. How can where should I go for education? He says that if I go to someone if I go to a sage like Vyasa or other sages who are Vaishnavas, then they will see me as Vishnu and they will not be able to instruct me. Therefore, I will go to a Shaivite. And Sandipamani Muni, he was from Varanasi, he was a great devotee of Shiva. And I will go to him. Actually, Krishna goes to Sandipani Muni. He says also, the enemies of Yadus should not know where I am. Because if they come to know I am far away, then they may attack. So he tells us, so Krishna and Balaram again confer, and they tell Vasudeva and Devaki that we will go secretly. We will go on our own. And then they go all the way from Mathura to Avanti. And there they go to Sandipani Muni Ashram and they start getting education over there. And there they are learning various things. But each night, after the whole day gets over, Krishna, he turns to Balaram and he says, my heart is constantly afflicted with separation from Vrajavrindavan. He says, I remember Yashoda, I remember Nanda, I remember the Vrajavasis, I remember the cows. I cannot live without them. What should I do? Balaram tells Krishna, I see it. I also feel the same separation. But oh Krishna, you need to control yourself. Now, I have seen that when our teacher is teaching and he suddenly speaks something about cows and you get lost. You get lost in your own world. Oh Krishna, you are here as a student and you should be a student. Control yourself. Soon our education will get over and then we can go back. And saying this, they hug each other and they cry tears, and both of their hearts filled, united in remembrance of Vrindavan, they endure the nights. And so Krishna, he finishes his education. There are many reasons. One is that he demonstrates his divinity by learning all the skills at a super fast pace. So Krishna, in more ways than one, demonstrates himself as a childhood prodigy. Sometimes in the news we may get somebody at the age of 16 gets a PhD degree. So Krishna getting all the 64 skills, all the skills in just a short time. It's far, far greater. So Krishna demonstrates his extraordinary strength by defeating and killing Kamsa. And he demonstrates extraordinary intelligence at Sandipani's ashram. But another reason is, he's thinking, I want to go back. So I have to take education. As soon as the education gets over, then I can go back. I can finish my work. I can kill the demons and then I can go back to Vrindavan. And then they offer Dakshina to Sandipani Muni and then they return. And both Krishna and Balaram, their hearts are constantly thinking about Vrindavan. They are going to Mathura, but they have to stop their legs from shifting towards Vrindavan. They have to enter into Mathura. And when they enter into Mathura, they ask about the well-being of the Mathuravasis, but they also ask, was there any news from Vrindavan? Did anyone ask about us? But the Mathuravasis, at one level, they want to offer Krishna all happiness. But at another level, they are afraid that Krishna will go from Vrindavan. So one of the things is that, sometimes some people have, some say, there are some soldiers who go to war. And after they come back home, they have this post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. So they constantly keep getting memories. You may have seen a sudden bomb and maybe a dozen people killed. Sometimes you see some as a casualty, what they call as collateral damage. Sometimes the child gets killed and the mutilated body of a child. These can be very emotionally scarring images. So one way of dealing with memories, unwanted memories, is just not talk about them. So the Mathuravasis want to adopt this way. So whenever Krishna asks anything about Vrindavan, they don't speak anything about it. So Krishna doesn't know what to do. Finally Krishna and Balaram, they go to Rohini and they ask, had anyone come from Vrindavan? Did the Brajvasis come to know that we had left Mathura and gone to Avanti? So Rohini says, I'm not sure. Yes, there were some messengers who came from Vrindavan and they looked around for you. When they didn't see you, they asked, but nobody answered. So they did not know whether you were in the inner chambers or you were not here. I don't know what they concluded. So Krishna and Balaram say that they look at each other. Both of them are having the same thought. They said, maybe one night, we can just sneak away. We can go to Vrindavan, we can stay at night there, and before morning comes, we'll be back. Nobody will come to know. So Rohini smiles and he says, Krishna, you are not the only intelligent person. The others have already thought of this. And there are constantly guards watching you. If you try to go, they will not stop you. But if you go secretly, immediately Vasudeva and Devaki will come to know. And if they come to know, that will break their heart. See, even if you come back, the fact that you went without telling them will make them feel that you have still not accepted them as your parents. And that will break their hearts. So Krishna comes to Balaram and he says, what should I do? He says that I cannot displease my parents. And on top of that, and the Maharaj also told me that while I am in Mathura, I should obey Vasudeva. So Krishna and Balaram, and then they decide, both of them, they go to Vasudeva and Devaki. And they ask, can we go to Vrindavan for a few days? And although Vasudeva and Devaki did not have the heart to say no to Krishna, but they did not say yes also. And Krishna, he understands. And then they do not want him to go. Then he thinks what to do. And then he says, maybe if I cannot go, I can send someone. Whom can I send? And as Krishna and Balaram were thinking, at that time, again, both of them, the same question. Krishna, he puts their hand on their faces. Just like somebody might be wearing a Chintamani jewel and forget the existence of that jewel and look for wealth everywhere. So like that, I am thinking everywhere, whom can I send? Why? My own friend and cousin, Uddhava is right here with me. He says, if there is someone who appreciates only my greatness, then that person, if he goes to Vrindavan, he will consider the sweetness of the love of the Rajavasis as inappropriate. But if someone who only appreciates my sweetness, then he will think me hard-hearted. After seeing the misery of the Rajavasis and saying that I am not going back, I need someone who appreciates my greatness, but will also appreciate this. Such a person is Uddhava. How Krishna met Uddhava for the first time and what are the interactions, that's an entirely different story. But suffice it to say that here Krishna and Balaram agree and then they decide to send Uddhava. And that is described in the 46-47 chapters of the 10th canto. So the reference to Vrindavan after Krishna leaves Vrindavan comes primarily on 3 occasions. Actually only on 2. It's 46-47 chapter is when Uddhava goes to Vrindavan, and then after that it comes in 67th chapter, I think, where Balaram goes to Vrindavan, and then the 81st chapter when the Vrajavasis come to Kurukshetra for the solar eclipse, and then the Milan, the reunion happens again. So here Uddhava goes and he returns. So now, after that, Krishna and Balaram, they are constantly thinking, what to do? How can we protect the Vrajavasis? So, when Jarasandha comes with a huge army, at that time, Krishna sends a message to the Vrajavasis, and he says that if Jarasandha sees how much is the wealth that is there in Vrindavan, he may still decide to plunder Vrindavan. So please, do not stay in your houses. He says, leave your houses and go into the forest. While the army is passing by, let Vrindavan appear to be like a deserted place, so that there is no suspicion of the prosperity of Vrindavan. And then, this way, Jarasandha, he comes and attacks again and again and again. 17 times he attacks. And each time, Krishna's anxiety is not just the protection of the Mathuravasis. When Jarasandha will attack, his worry is also the protection of the Vrajavasis. Will Jarasandha's army like havoc? And finally he decides that enough is enough. I cannot tolerate this anxiety anymore. And so he decides to transport all the Mathuravasis to a place far away from Vrindavan. Although this means that he will be far away from Vrindavan, but he thinks that at least the Vrajavasis will be safe. So he creates the fort of Dwarka at practically the opposite end of the country, far away from Vrindavan, so that nobody will even threaten him. And in that way, the Vrajavasis will be safe. And as Krishna and Balaram go about their Kshatriya duties, killing various demons, so then Balaram gets married to Revati. And then when the marriage is to take place, so immediately Krishna and Balaram, they send a message to the Maharaj. And the message comes from the Maharaj. So when the Maharaj, he says that he is going to get married, and he says yes, it is appropriate, he uses blessings. And when he uses blessings, Krishna, when the Maharaj hears for the first time that Balaram is getting married, he says, it is appropriate that Balaram is a Kshatriya and he should marry a Kshatrani. But whom will Krishna marry? Whom will Krishna marry? If Krishna marries a Kshatrani, then he accepts that he is a Kshatriya. If Krishna comes back here and marries a Vaishya girl, then he accepts that he is our son. So then Balaram, Balaram's marriage takes place, and then Krishna at that time, around that time, Krishna, he abducts Rukmini and then their marriage takes place. So Krishna sends a letter and he says that actually as a king, I have to establish political alliances. And alliances often require marriages. So actually, I am getting married only for namesake. My heart is in Vrindavan and soon I will come back to Vrindavan. And Nanda Maharaj, he tells Krishna, yes, I understand. His heart is heavy, but he still understands. And he says, if you have to marry many times also, you don't have to ask us permission each time. Blessings are... So, then, now, Sanatana Goswami in his Vaishnava Toshan explains that the Bhagavatam is written not just from Smriti, it is written from Smriti. Smriti is consciously cultivated recollection. That means we decide to think about something. Whereas Smriti is spontaneously arising recollection. It's more of a spontaneously arising memory. You know, somebody, somebody asks, do you remember that? And we think and stretch our memory and we remember. So that is something which you are consciously recollecting. Whereas Smriti is something that spontaneously arises. So he explained that Shukadeva Goswami, when he described in the 10th canto, he starts off with Smriti, but then as the ecstasy increases, it alternates between Smriti and Smriti. So till more or less to the 55th chapter of the 10th canto, it's chronological. But from the 55th chapter, the 10th canto is not so much chronological. That's why you will see that immediately after the marriage of Krishna with Rukmini, then other marriages are described. And then after that, the sons of Krishna are described. And the pastimes of Samba and Anirudh Pradyumna and other pastimes are described. So from the 50th chapter onwards, more or less the chronology is no longer there. And what is the 81st chapter? The 81st chapter is Krishna and the Dwarkavasis and the Vrindavasis meeting. Now it is described at that time, Bhishma and other elders are also there. Whereas we see that the whole Kurukshetra war happens at the time when Balram goes for pilgrimage. And Balram's pilgrimage is in between chapter 70 to 80. So the point which I am making is, after that, so the 81st chapter, what is described in the 81st chapter, that happens much earlier. So the chronology is left. So what happens over here is that Krishna and Balaram, they come to Dwarka. And from Dwarka, they get married and other things happen over there. And they kill some of the demons. And then Balaram, he one day comes to Krishna and he says, Krishna, we heard from Uddhava. Now, how much the Vrajavasis were mortified by separation from you. And you told them that you will go back soon. Why is it that you did not go back? Have you forgotten the Vrajavasis? In fact, this question which Balaram asks Uddhava, which Balaram asks Krishna, Uddhava also has this question. He doesn't ask it because although Uddhava asks Krishna, although Uddhava and Krishna are at one level sakhas, they are of the same age, they are relatives. At one level they are sakhas, but still there is a Gaurav Sakhya. He is more or less in the mood of servant, so he hardly ever questions Krishna's actions. But still that question is there in Uddhava's heart. And Uddhava, Krishna wants to address that question in Uddhava's heart. And Jiva Goswami explains, Krishna does this in a very special way. So there is one chapter in the, after 46-47 chapter in the 10th canto, are Uddhava is going to Vrindavan and returning back. And interestingly, it is very peculiar that after Uddhava comes back and Uddhava describes the love of the gopis and how much they are in separation from Krishna, then immediately after that, there is the pastime Krishna satisfies his devotee. That's what Prabhupada titles that. Different acharyas title the Krishna chapters differently. But what happens is, when Krishna satisfies his devotees, it's mainly two things. One thing is that Krishna goes to Kubja. Now, this would seem very bewildering. Krishna has a relationship with the gopis are in separation from him, and Krishna is going to someone else. And he asks, immediately after Uddhava has told how much the gopis are in separation from him, Krishna is going to someone else. So how is this? But one Jiva Goswami explains that, is this an ordinary pastime? Is this a man who is just going to some woman to satisfy his desires? He says that when Krishna goes to Kubja, he takes Uddhava with him. Now if a man is going to such a place, he doesn't take some other respectable friend with him. Now, people do this privately, if they have to do it. So why will he take Uddhava with him? So Krishna, at one level when he goes to Kubja, he purifies Kubja. But at another level, Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna is sending a message to Uddhava. Uddhava has this question, Krishna, if the gopis are so much in separation from you, if the gopis are almost on the verge of death, in separation from you, how can you stay away from them? Why are you not doing something to reciprocate? So Jiva Goswami says that Krishna, by going to Kubja and taking Uddhava with him when he goes to Kubja, Krishna conveys to Uddhava that Kubja is a sakam. She has attraction to Krishna, but that attraction is also to some extent self-centered. She's just attracted to Krishna, and Krishna looks so good, and she has an attraction to him. But Krishna wants to tell Uddhava that even if somebody approaches me sakam, even with them I reciprocate. The gopis are approaching me with a complete nishkam bhav. How will I not reciprocate with them? I will surely reciprocate. So, the Lord's actions, what intentions are there for his actions, the ordinary mind can't conceive. And unless the Lord reveals through some acharya, we may very easily misunderstand. So Krishna answers that question of Uddhava that I will surely reciprocate with the love of the gopis. I will surely reciprocate with the love of the Rajavasis. But I have some duties to perform. Till then, I have to stay here. Now Balaram, he says that so many times, my legs have prompted me to rush to Vrindavan and I have checked myself. But now I can no longer check myself. Let us go to Vrindavan. Krishna says, Balaram, you have spoken the very words of my heart. But I know that Vasudeva and Devaki, they will not allow me to go. If you can persuade them, that at this very moment I am ready to leave. Now Balaram, it is said that one who gives a suggestion has to take the responsibility of the execution also. So Balaram realized that there is a big problem. How will I persuade you? So then when he says that we want to go to Vrindavan, so there he says, Balaram, you can go, but not Krishna. So Balaram was furious. He says, what is the difference between Balaram, Krishna and me? He says, just as both of us are your sons, both of us are the sons of Vasudeva and Devaki, of Nanda and Yashoda also. If I can go, why are you not allowing Krishna to go? So now the few times Balaram actually becomes angry with Vasudeva. So then Vasudeva does not reply anything. And then Balaram comes back and he tells, my father has not given permission for you to go. So Krishna tightly embraces Balaram and he says, you go and we are not different. If you go and you are with the Brajavasis, then it is as if I will also be there. And then you said, you leave the Brajavasis and you tell them that I will be coming soon. And he says, Krishna says, it will be good also if you go. We have to relieve the misery of the Brajavasis, but I cannot send anyone else. He says, I have already talked with Uddhava. Uddhava says that Krishna, the Brajavasis consider you a liar and then you have made me into a liar also. If I go, I will have zero credibility. I cannot face them, I will not go. and says that if I send anyone else, the Brajavasis may not believe. But, oh Balaram, you are my elder brother. And if you go, the Brajavasis will trust you. They will know that if you are going, your words I cannot falsify. I will surely return. So please go. And so Balaram goes to Vrindavan for many purposes, three primarily at this point. More will be revealed when he goes there. One is that he is himself afflicted by separation from Vrindavan. Second is he vicariously enables Krishna to relieve him from the feeling of separation from the Brajavasis. And thirdly, this is from the perspective of Krishna and Balaram. From the perspective of the Brajavasis, because Krishna and Balaram have always been together, the presence of Balaram will relieve the Brajavasis' separation from Krishna to some extent. That actually happened to some extent with Uddhava also, because Uddhava also looks quite similar to Krishna. So, and lastly, because when Balaram goes and gives the assurance that Krishna will come back soon, then the Brajavasis will be relieved by that. They will maintain their life and maintain their faith. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Radharani, she is describing that, actually this is a Vaishnava poet from the Lalit Madhav, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is quoting that. Now about Kavya and Rasa, we will be discussing tomorrow morning Bhagavatam class. But so there, the Brajavas, Radharani says that Krishna, when you left us and went away, it is as if you placed us in a burning cage. In a burning cage where we are constantly afflicted by the fire of separation. But this burning cage is worse than any other cage. He says that if a person is burning in a cage, that somehow that person can just open the door of the cage or break the cage and run out of the cage. Or that cage will consume the body of the person will die. But it says, Krishna, since you left us and went away, it is our body is burning with the fire of separation from you. But neither can we run away from this fire because your words that I will come back, those are like the bolt on the cage. Because of that we can't go out of the cage. We can't leave our body. We have to stay here. When will you come back, O Krishna? Deen Dayadra Natha he, Mathura Natha Kadavalokya se, Hrudayam Tadaloka Kataram Daita Brahmati Kim Karomyaham. So, Krishna, you are Deena Dayadra Nath. But although we are Deena, although we are fallen and you are compassionate, but still, you have left it and you have become Mathura Nath. You have given us up and become Mathura. Kadavalokya se, when we see you again? This, they are mortally afflicted. Daita Brahmati Kim Karomyaham. What should we do? We don't know. Where should we do? Where should we go? What should I do? I don't know anything. So Balaram is going to relieve the Brajavasis of such separation from Vrindavan, from Krishna in Vrindavan. And he goes all the way from Dwarka. His chariot goes with the speed of light. And then as he comes to the outskirts of Vrindavan, he sheds aside his Kshatriya garments. And he puts on the garments of a cowherd. And he puts aside his chariot. Now he wants, going to Vrindavan is not just physically going to Vrindavan. Going to Vrindavan is also entering the mood of Vrindavan. Another reason why, apart from the security concerns, because of which the Brajavasis don't go to Mathura, another reason is for them, this is a matter of rasa, which, but the point is for the Brajavasis, Krishna is not Krishna unless he is Krishna in Vrindavan. So they cannot relish Krishna, that particular flavor of love with Krishna unless he is in the mood of Raja. And when he is wearing armor and when he is wearing a crown and when he is carrying weapons, this is not our Krishna. That's why when the gopis, they see Krishna in Kurukshetra, there is a reunion, but there is actually a heightening of the separation. And that's why the gopis feel that we want to put Krishna on a chariot and take him back. The idea, why a chariot? Why not just take him like that? Because Krishna is still a prince, so he deserves a chariot. So, and that chariot, they say we will pull it. Normally a chariot is pulled by horses. Now if somebody wants to serve somebody else also, then also what they do? Like Kamsa was trying to show his love for Devaki before. They will become the charioteer. But nobody, practically speaking, pull the chariot with their hands. But the gopis, when they want to take Krishna back to Vrindavan, they want to pull the chariot with the love of their hearts and the labor of their hands. And that's how they want to take Krishna back. So, that's why when Balaram goes back to Vrindavan, he goes back in the mood of Vrindavan, putting on the garb, putting aside all the Kshatriya markers. And then he enters among the Brajavasis. And when the Brajavasis see Balaram has come back, it is sometimes one eye is of Balaram, but other eyes is there someone behind him. Is there someone behind him? And they see there is no one behind him. And they are delighted at the same time. They are just too transfixed for words. And then Balaram rushes, he goes straight to the house of the Maharaj and Yashodamaya. He falls at their feet and they pick him up and embrace him. And he says, "Oh Ram, it is wonderful that you have come back." And they ask about the well-being of the Mathuravasis, or now Dwarkavasis. And then Balaram asks about all the Gopas and Gopis, and all the elderly Gopas and Gopis. And they ask about Krishna. And says, Krishna is constantly remembering you. He is longing to come back, and he has sent me to assure you that he will surely come back very soon. Just a few demons remain to be killed. Till then, I will be here with you. And then Krishna goes, and then Balaram, after meeting Kunda and Yashoda and consoling them, he goes and meets with the other Brajavasis. He goes and meets with the Sakhas. Then he goes and meets with his gopis. And Jiva Goswami draws from various Puranas, Harivamsha and others, and he explains elaborately that there are two kinds of gopis, or two categories of gopis. One of Balaram's gopis and the other of Krishna's gopis. So first, Balaram goes and meets Krishna's gopis, and he tells them that Krishna is surely going to come back. Krishna is surely going to come back, and he has sent me to you. He knows your heart, how afflicted you are in separation from him. And I have seen him. I know that he is just as afflicted in separation from you as you are from him. And surely he will come back very soon. So then Krishna's gopis tell Balaram, "Oh Ram, it is good that you have come back here. And just as we are afflicted by separation from you, your gopis are afflicted in separation from, just as we are afflicted in separation from Krishna, your gopis are afflicted in separation from you. So please accept them." And the Radharani Ji goes to Nanda Maharaj and Yashodamaya. He says that now that Balaram has come back, let Balaram get married to the gopis. So at that time, Nanda Maharaj proposes this. And Balaram says, "Yes, but I cannot endure any celebration. I cannot endure any celebration. The celebration is to be enjoyed." But he says, as long as I am separated from Krishna, as long as all of you are separated from Krishna, we cannot have any celebration. So let there be any marriage, but there will not be any much festivities. And then Balaram gets married to the gopis, and then after that, Balaram performs his Rasa Leela with his gopis. And when he performs the Rasa Leela with his gopis, at that time, the gopis of Krishna watch from a distance. And while watching from the distance, they recollect the pastimes that they have performed with Krishna. And this way they are relieved of separation. And then Balaramji desires that the Brajavasis, especially the Maharaj Yashodamaya, have as accessible to them, as near them as possible, as many reminders of Krishna as possible. So that whenever they see Krishna, so whenever they see this thing, they will remember Krishna. At least to some extent their separation will be removed. So they know. So Balaram was that how Krishna would perform pastimes in Jamuna. And Jamuna is flowing at some distance from the house of the Maharaj Yashodamai. And the Maharaj Yashodamai, they can go to the banks of Jamuna and they can bathe and they can watch Jamuna. But he desires that the Jamuna is distributed into many tributaries and she is flowing everywhere in Vrindavan. Then wherever the Brajavasis go, there they will see Jamuna. And there they will be relieved from separation from Ram by the recollect from Krishna by seeing Jamuna. And thus it is that he appears to act as a drunk, as an intoxicated person. And while acting intoxicated, he summons Jamuna. And Jamuna, she is inspired by the Lord. Who is this drunk person? I will not come there. And her desire is to fulfill Balram's desire. And then when Jamuna refuses to come, at that time Balram takes his spear and he drags Jamuna. The rivers, especially the sacred rivers, they have a dual existence. They are a transcendental person, a female personage, and they also, that person, that female also extend as a water body. So when he catches Jamuna, when he wants to catch Jamuna, he doesn't catch the personified Jamuna. Balaram, he catches the river Jamuna. And with his plow, he pulls Jamuna. When he pulls Jamuna, then the Jamuna overflows and spreads into tributaries all over. And at that time, Jamuna, Devi, she externally acts as if she is now realized, oh, how powerful you are, how powerful you are. So, again, this might seem, if this whole pastime is seen at external level, it might seem that a drunkard man is grabbing a non-consenting woman. But this is a completely transcendental pastime. And there are so many dynamic emotions going on, so deep emotions going on over there. So actually it is Balaram's desire to create a greater intimate union between Jamuna Devi and the Brajavasis. And Jamuna Devi's apparent reluctance is part of that Leela. So at that time, Jamuna Devi prays. She offers her prayers and she prays to Balaramji. And she says, you kindly repeat after me, Ram Ram Mahabaho, न जाने तव विक्रमम् त्वयेकांशेन विधृता जगति जगतपते. So he says, Ram Ram Mahabaho. Oh Ram, you are an extremely powerful person, Mahabaho. न जाने तव विक्रमम्. I did not know about your glory. Tvai ekamshe vidhrita. You by ekamshe, by your one fragment, vidhrita jagati, you sustain the whole universe, and thus you are Jagatapate. You are the Lord of the universe. Tvai ekamshe vidhrita. This is referring to how we know Krishna Balaram comes, and from Balaram we have Vasudeva Sankarshan Pradyumna. Then we have Narayan, from that we have second Vasudeva Sankarshan Pradyumna. And from them we have Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Shivadaksha Vishnu, who are the Purusha avatars who sustain the world. So now those world sustaining avatars are just an expansion of an expansion of an expansion, 7 degrees down, 7 levels down of Balaram. So Tvai ekamshe vidhrita. So, O Ram, such is your power that by one fragment of your expansion you sustain the whole world. And for you to even uplift the whole earth, what is so difficult for you? You are in fact sustaining the whole earth. So here Balaram does not uplift the earth, but he, in one sense, tears the river apart. And has her distribute her presence in various places. So this is in contrast with when Balaram actually lifts up Hastinapur, that is when he is angry. And here also externally seems angry, but this is out of love. And Balaram stays for 4 months in Vrindavan, and he relieves the misery of the Vrajavasis, and then he bids them farewell. And then they give profuse gifts for Krishna, and they tell him that we will be every single day, we will be waiting. When will Krishna come back? When will you, both of you, come back? In fact. And then, as Balaram returns back to Krishna, while Balaram has been in Vrindavan, Krishna has been going on with his royal duties. But at every moment, his heart is in Vrindavan and he's wondering what is happening in Vrindavan, how is Balaram, what is going on. And then Balaram comes back. Krishna and Balaram embrace each other. And Balaram, then they go into seclusion. And for days together, both of them are in seclusion. And every single thing that happened in Vrindavan, Balaram tells Krishna. And Krishna, by this retelling of the incidents in Vrindavan, he renews his memories of Vrindavan. And at that time he decides, I have to go back to Vrindavan. The Vrajavasis are so much in separation from me, so much in separation. I have to go back sooner or later. And when will I go back? And then Krishna makes a plan. And then he decides that he will kill Jarasandha, then he will kill Dantabakra. And interestingly, various battles take place in different places. But he killed Dantabakra near Mathura. He has killed Jarasandha. Jarasandha has been killed at the time of before Yudhishthira Yajna. And then Dantabakra is the last demon that is killed. And when Dantabakra is killed at that time, Krishna decides, now I will lay down my weapons. Now no more fighting. And then after that, after Krishna has killed Dantabakra, then Krishna returns to Vrindavan. And he comes with Balaram. And it is described that at that time, Daruka, who is the charioteer, he brings Krishna and Balaram. And then there is Uddhava, who is partly of Dwarkavasi, partly of Vrajavasi. So Uddhava is also brought back. And he comes to Vrindavan, as Jiva Goswami is narrating, and he describes that Krishna, Balaram and the Vrajavasis, they all go back to the spiritual world. And at the same time, Krishna, Balaram, in their outer expansions, they return from Dantabakra, return after killing Dantabakra back to Dwarka, and they continue to live on. So Krishna does not lift any weapons, even in the Kurukshetra war. And Krishna, he is at one level living in Dwarka, at another level he has returned back to Vrindavan, and the whole Golok Vrindavan, as the Golok Vrindavan, has become unmanifested and returned to Golok Vrindavan. So that is itself, that whole return is a very elaborate pastime. And our theme is how Krishna is helped by Balaramji to remember Vrindavan. So Balaramji helps Krishna in 3 ways, of course many ways, but one way is that he just acts as an understanding person. When Krishna is afflicted by separation from Vrindavan, he has only 2 people who understand him, actually 3, but among those 3, first it is Balaram. Balaram comes with Krishna to Vrindavan, then Rohini comes along, so Rohini also understands, and then Uddhava goes and comes, and Uddhava also understands. But still, among these 3, Uddhava still has a distant relationship. Uddhava and Krishna are not grown up since childhood as friends. And then Rohini is still, but Krishna cannot talk about the gopis with Rohini. So Yashoda and the Maharaj know something is happening between Krishna and the gopis, but they don't know much details of what is happening. They hope that they will get married eventually. But so his separation, so to have a sympathetic ear to hear his feelings of separation, Balaramji acts as that. He's the only person, only person from Vrindavan who is always there with Krishna throughout his pastimes. And then, secondly, he also acts as a counselor. So at times when Krishna is intolerably afflicted in separation from the Vrajavasis, then Balaram offers counsel. In this way, there is to some extent a role reversal. When the Ramayana, Ram is constantly counseling Lakshman. Lakshman becomes more and more emotional, he gets angry, and Ram calms him down. But here it is Krishna who becomes overwhelmed with emotion, and Balaram calms him down. So he acts as a friend for hearing, he acts as a counselor for helping Krishna stay firm in the path of duty. And he also acts as a messenger. Messenger who is not just a messenger, but who is also like a representative, the vicarious representative. And this way, Krishna helps, Balaram helps Krishna to relieve himself of the agony of separation. And this is the way Balaram manifests the Dasya Bhava. We know Balaramji is also the Adi Guru Tattva. So, the spiritual master works at both levels. The spiritual master is working to relieve the conditioned souls of misery. The spiritual master is also working to satisfy Krishna. The two are not separate, the two are connected, but still the spiritual master is working at both levels. So, the Balaram, the very name Balaram, our acharyas have explained in different ways. So, one explanation they give is that the Bala of Ram. What that means is that in this world we are all struggling against temptations. Now our hearts are caught between two forces, our lower side and our higher side. And in this inner battle, we need strength to win. And that strength which we need to win against the lower desires, it's not the physical strength. Nor is it merely an intellectual strength. Yes, by intelligence, we can understand this is right and this is wrong. And Jiva Goswami says that, in his analysis of Evam Buddhe Param Buddhva Samstabhya Atman 3.43 in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that for the sadhaka, it is buddhi that keeps the sadhaka on the spiritual level. But buddhi cannot keep one permanently on the spiritual level. Eventually, buddhi should be used to develop priti. And priti is love. Love is what will keep us at the siddha level, at the spiritual level constantly. So, when we have love for Krishna, then in his devotion we experience such higher happiness that at that time the lower pleasures become no longer alluring. It's like if there is a dark, complete darkness, then even if there is a small candle, we look forward to that candle. We feel that candle will guide me. But if the sun rises, then there is no need for the candle. So like that, when we have no access to spiritual happiness, even whatever little pleasure that might be there in this world, it's like a flickering candle. It is there now and it's gone next moment. Kamala Dallajalo Jivana Tallamal. But still, that pleasure also we crave for it. But when, by the spiritual master's mercy, by Balaramji's mercy, the light of spiritual love, the sun of spiritual love awakens in our heart and it illumines our heart, we experience such higher happiness that at that time, the lower pleasures become like a candle, which becomes redundant when the sun has risen. So that Ram, that higher happiness, when we experience that, that gives us a strength, the Bala, to reject lower pleasures. So Balaram gives us the Bala of Ram, the strength of higher happiness. And by that strength of higher happiness, we can resist the lower pleasures. So the art of actually relishing higher happiness is what the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which the Rasa Shastra talks about. And that rasa, that how we get rasa is by the mercy of the spiritual masters, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, who are all representatives of Balaramji. It is not that when we say Adi Guru Tattva, the Guru is not just one. So we have our spiritual master, but we have so many other devotees and mercy comes from all of them. And through them we can get Balaram's mercy and we can become strengthened so that while we can at this level, at our level here and relish these pastimes of the exalted feelings of separation that Krishna has from Vrindavan. But as we become purified, we will more and more become purified, we will enter more and more into these pastimes and relish more and more those pure emotions. And as it is said, as in Narada Muni's pastime, it is said that Krishna, who has appeared to Narad Muni and disappeared. So Krishna tells that I have created a hankering for me within you. And this hankering will burn away your material hankerings. So whenever we get some spiritual taste, sometimes we go for yatra, sometimes some special darshan, some special kirtan. Whenever we experience some higher taste, we need to remember that for a devotee, the whole process of bhakti is making our memory our treasury. It is making our memory our treasury. That means it's not just remembering the Krishna's pastimes, remembering the holy names, but also remembering our intense spiritual experiences, whatever we have had. These are glimpses of what lies ahead for us. Now one devotee asked me a question recently, that when we go to yatra, we feel so ecstatic. And we feel as if all material desires have gone away. When we come back from yatra, all the material desires come back. So what has happened? Is it that we say that Neha, Vikramana, Shosti, Bhaktivaya, the spiritual advancement is never lost? So what has happened? So is it that our spiritual advancement has gone away? So I explained that it is not that spiritual advancement has gone away. Actually, what is ahead, we got an advanced glimpse in the yatra. So when Jiva Goswami explained in the Bhakti Sandarbha that at certain times, by Krishna's mercy, in the association of devotees, even a new sadhaka can get glimpses of intense bhakti and can get glimpses of intense happiness. So it's not that when we go to yatra suddenly we become advanced and when we come back from yatra we become regressed. It's not like that. Rather, the intensity of the association gives us advanced sample of what lies ahead. And what we should do is, it's not that when we are yatra the material desires have gone away, but it's just that the power of the spiritual vibration is so strong that they have subsided temporarily. So we need to cherish those memories. By default, our mind will cherish the memories of sense gratification. Some sense gratification we may have enjoyed 15 years ago. The mind immediately may remember and make us do that again. But the devotional memories, the mind can make us forget them. So we have to consciously cherish them. And we make our memory our treasury. And when we feel dry in our spiritual life, when we feel disheartened, when we sometimes feel discouraged, the nature of the mind is that it will be like a sine wave. And if we start feeling proud, I have become very advanced, then we should remember how far we have to go. We can remember how much the Goswamis are absorbed in love for Krishna, how utterly they have transcended the body. But, so if we feel proud, remembering how far we have to go can bring us back on the earth. But, if we are feeling discouraged, and at that time we remember how far we have to go. So we won't come back to earth, we will bury ourselves under the earth. So at that time, when we feel discouraged, thinking, I don't have any taste, I feel sleepy, I feel bored, I'm not attracted to Krishna. At that time, we should remember how far we have come. How far we have come. If we look at our own lives, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we will see that what we were at that time and what we are, there is a substantial difference. Often, when we are fighting with our temptations, we focus too much on our desires. Oh, this desire is there, it was there yesterday, it is there today also. 10 years also, okay, the same desire was there, again now the desire is there. So where is the purification happening? The purification is seen not so much through the change of desires as it is through the change of values. Because change of desires means as long as we are in the material world, material desires are going to come to us. Because the nature of this world is that it's going to inject desires into us. And the famous shloka of Yamunacharya will say, Yadavadhi Mamna, he says that when I think of sense gratification, I spit at the thought. Now Prabhupada's focus is usually I spit at the thought. But another point is, even he thinks of sense gratification. So how does that happen? It's just inevitable. Krishna says, Shaknoti haive sukham prakshari vimoksham. Kama krodhodbhavam vegam sayukta sasukhi nara. He says that kama krodhodbhavam, that temptations are going to come as long as we have a body. Prakshari vimoksham. So, if we think purification will manifest in terms of change of desires, then we will unnecessarily discourage ourselves. Purification is manifested more in terms of change of values. Change of values means when the desire comes, what is our response? Now when we were materialistic, if some temptation comes, we roll out the red carpet. At least now when temptation is coming, we are showing the red flag. We are showing the red flag, a warning. So change of values is itself a more reliable marker of advancement than change of desires. Because desires are going to keep coming. Yes, certainly the grosser desires will subside, but still desires will keep coming. What is our response to those desires? Do we want those desires or do we want to get rid of those desires? And if you look from that perspective, our values definitely have changed. That's why we are here trying to hear about the Lord and become purified by hearing about the Lord. And this change of values will become more and more strong as we keep studying the practice of bhakti. So we can look back. Actually, if we look back at the many species that are there in material existence, and we have also been in, we don't know what was species. So, no, without trying much, we got the human form. Without trying much, we got the process of bhakti. If we read the biographies of many devotees, we may see that they often went out in search of God. But for most of us, we didn't go out in search of God. Devotees came out in search for us. So, without any effort from us, still Krishna has brought us to his lotus feet. In fact, at least if I look back at my life, leave alone much effort from me, it has been much objection from me. I have fought against spiritual advancement, not fought for spiritual advancement. Devotees have been pushing me ahead and I have been trying to fight against it. So, with very little effort from our part, despite so many obstacles, Krishna has got us so far. The human life is like the last lap in the marathon of material existence. And within the human life also, if we have come to the path of bhakti, we have come in the association of devotees, then it's like the last few quarters we have to run. So we are at the end of very close to the end of our sojourn in material existence. And if you remember where the whole remaining world is in Kali Yuga, where we were in the past, if you remember, we understand how far we have come already, then we can be encouraged that yes, Krishna is here to guide. Krishna is here, he has his representatives who have brought me so far and they will take me ahead also. So Balaramji's mercy manifests through his many representatives, and by their grace, we can move forward and attain the Lord's lotus feet. So the prayer that Yamuna offers to Balaram, she's telling Balaramji that, please forgive me that I offended you. That is a prayer. We may not have offended Balaramji directly, but we have offended many devotees. We have offended the representatives of Balaramji, and we can offer that same prayer and ask on this appearance, which is appearance day of Balaramji, forgiveness from Balaramji and all his representatives. So let us conclude with the repetition of the same prayer. Ram Ram Mahabaho Najani Tava Vikramam Tvayekam Vidruta Jagati Jagatapate Shri Balaram Ji ki Shri Balaram Ji ki Shri Prabhupada ki Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Radha Vrindavan Chakra Bhakti Vrinda ki Gaur Premanand. Yes, Amal Mahaprabhu, please speak. Okay, where is it? You can ask them.
Hare Krishna. Guruji, thank you so much for such a wonderful class, especially the pastimes of Krishna outside of Vrindavan and how Balaram reminded him. and several controversies you resolved while you were speaking. My question was that Vasudeva and Nand Maharaj are very close friends, and we hear in the Bhagavatam itself that how they are reciprocating love with each other. So while Krishna was asking, or Balaram was asking to go to Vrindavan, they would have also thought what is going on with Nand Maharaj and what is going on in Vrindavan, how much in separation of Krishna they are. So why did they not respond in that way that okay, you can go for something?
The question is that Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj are very close to each other. So Vasudeva could have also understood what was the going on, what was the misery that Nanda Maharaj was going through. So they could have let Krishna go to Vrindavan for some time. Yes. Now Vasudeva, if we see, there are two things here. First is that Vasudeva is not just alone in making decisions. You know, he is one of the royal princes. He actually never occupies the throne. Ugrasen occupies the throne, and of course Krishna also doesn't occupy the throne. And the Yadus themselves are constantly concerned. So of course Krishna, he says that Vasudeva is not allowing me to go. But you know, in the world, when we live in a community, it's our decisions are not our decisions alone. We have to think of so many other things. So one is from the point of view of the Yadus, they were very concerned that if Krishna goes, he will not come back. Vasudeva knew from his side that Nanda Maharaj is also very understanding. The very fact that Nanda Maharaj did not insist that Krishna come back, that itself shows Nanda Maharaj understanding. But Vasudeva was not alone in making the decisions. But he was alone in having to tell that decision to Krishna because he was the father. So that is one thing. And second thing is that it is also true that they all had that apprehension that if Krishna goes back to Vrindavan, they will not come back. Now, in tomorrow's class about Rasa, I will talk about this aspect more. See, Jiva Goswami in the Gopal Champu is describing the whole pastime from the perspective of the Vrajavasis. And so, for example, now Jiva Goswami says that among all the, so he says that there is a Sakha of Krishna named Arjuna, and there is a Sakha of Krishna named Sudama in Vrindavan. There's Arjuna and Sudama. And he says that wherever Krishna goes, Krishna is constantly remembering Vrindavan and seeking stimuli to remember Vrindavan. So he says, why was Krishna so dear among all the five Pandavas? Why did Krishna love Arjuna the most? He says, because this Arjuna reminded him of the Vrindavan Arjuna. Now, is it true? See, this is a whole different subject. There's a transcendental subjectivity in which more important than truth is the emotion. The truth is there, but it's more important than emotion. So it is true that Arjuna, no doubt, had very intense devotion among all the Pandavas. But Jiva Goswami is explaining things from the perspective of the Vrajavasis in Gopalji. So similarly, he says, there are so many other students in the Gurukul of Sandipani Muni. Why did Krishna have special affection for Sudama only? It's because this Sudama reminded him of the Sudama in Vrindavan. There's another Gopa by the same name Sudama. So the whole narration of Gopal Champu is from the perspective of the Vrajavasis. And the Vrajavasis are just not able to understand why is Krishna not coming back? They understand the call of the duty, that Krishna has, but still the heart doesn't listen to that. So Jiva Goswami, when he describes such things, in the Sandarbha, say that when he is describing Katha, he describes the rasa. When he is describing Tattva, he is quite cautious in telling things in a very broad and reconciliatory. So it is not that Vasudeva specifically was stopping Krishna from going, and Krishna is God. If you want to take from if you just want to remove the rasa part and look into Tattva, Krishna doesn't have to obey Vasudeva also. Krishna can just leave Mathura and go to Vrindavan. But the point of this pastime is that the nature of love is such that one does not want to attribute any fault to one's objects of love. So therefore, in a matter of, as I said, transcendental rasa, one attributes that fault to someone else. So if Krishna is not returning to Vrindavan, Krishna is not to be blamed. Others around him must be blamed. So this is all very exalted. The point which I am making is that there is, yes, Vasudeva was understanding, but Vasudeva alone was not there in making the decision. And Jiva Goswami's rendition is trying to make sense of Krishna's going away from Vrindavan and staying away from Vrindavan from the perspective of the Vrajavasis. In fact, the whole Gopal Chandu is narrated as a narrative by two bards, two singers, Snigdakanta and Madhukanta, and they are narrating it when Krishna has come back from Mathura to Vrindavan. So Krishna is already there and Krishna is hearing his own pastimes, narrated by Snigdakanta and Madhukanta. So this whole pastime is, in that sense, when I described it, it is from the perspective of the Vrajavasis. How they were afflicted and how they were enduring. So it is Krishna who wanted to give his Vraja devotees the experience of love and separation, and that is the main reason why he stayed away from Vrindavan. He heightened their love to the highest extent. But in the analysis within love, for the sake of rasa, different causal chains are pointed out. And in this case, it's almost, not entirely, but at least in Gopal Chandu, the way Jiva Goswami described it from the Vrajapura perspective, the Mathura Vasis are painted slightly in a negative way. And that is a matter of rasa. Just as we may see that for Radharani, Chandravali and the Sakhis, they are like competitors and they are painted in a negative way. We have, Vaishnavas can be so accommodating that Prabhupada, when he is in the Les Crane's interview, he can say, you follow any word of God, you will go back to God. So the interviewer asked him, people follow Bible, can you go back to God? Yes, of course, any word of God you follow it properly, you will go back to God. So the path of Vaishnavism is so broad at that level. Prabhupada is saying that Jesus Christ is also a guru because he gave life for God. And in that same Vaishnava path, we have Raghunath Goswami not wanting to even drink milk. If the milk is not from Sakhistali, the leaf on which the milk is from Sakhistali. So I don't even want to drink that milk because it is from leaf from Sakhistali. So this is the nature of rasa. And it's not that Chandravali is anyway wrong or bad. But the nature of emotion is that for the intensity of relationships, there are different people who act in different ways, or who are thought of, conceived of as acting in different ways to enhance the flavor of that relationship. And that's how in this particular analysis by Jiva Goswami, from the Vraja perspective, the reason why Krishna doesn't come back is the Mathuravas is not allowing him. Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna.